The greedy merchant. In a bustling town filled with vibrant markets, there lived a merchant named Arlen who owned a shop full of rare and exquisite items. His shop stood out among others, stocked with beautiful jewelry, intricate tapestries, and exotic spices from distant lands. Arlen had spent years traveling and collecting treasures that no one else could offer, and people flocked to his shop, captivated by its uniqueness. Arlen's goal was to amass a fortune, and he believed the best way to achieve this was by charging high prices for his exclusive items. He was convinced that his customers would pay any amount for the finest goods in town. To create a sense of rarity, he began to hoard his most valuable items, only displaying them occasionally, hoping the limited access would make people willing to pay more. At first, his plan seemed to work. People admired his shop and paid his steep prices, thinking there was nowhere else to find such items. Arlen's wealth grew, and he prided himself on his cleverness. However, over time, his customers began to feel burdened by his inflated prices. The townsfolk started whispering about his greed, and rumors spread that Arlen cared more about his riches than his customers. Gradually, people stopped visiting his shop, choosing instead to buy from merchants who offered fairer prices. The once busy shop grew quiet, and the treasures Arlen had hoarded began gathering dust. The excitement of wealth faded as his profits dropped, but Arlen held on to his high prices, convinced the crowds would return. Days turned into weeks, and Arlen found himself alone in his shop more often than not. Without customers, the valuable items he had once prized began to feel like a burden. He had spent so much time collecting them, but now, without anyone to buy them, they seemed worthless. He began to realize that his pursuit of fortune had come at a cost he hadn't foreseen: his isolation. One evening, as he sat alone in his empty shop, Arlen reflected on his choices. He remembered how his shop had once been filled with laughter, friendly faces, and grateful customers. In his drive for wealth, he had lost the joy of interacting with people, and he regretted putting profit above relationships. That night, Arlen made a decision. He would change his ways and start treating his customers with fairness and respect. The next morning, he dusted off the shelves, lowered the prices, and reorganized the shop to make it welcoming. He greeted each customer with kindness, offering fair prices and even small discounts, hoping to regain their trust. The change wasn't immediate, but little by little, people noticed. Word spread that Arlen's shop had become more affordable and that he was treating customers fairly. His prices were now reasonable, and visitors felt valued when they entered his store. Slowly, the townsfolk returned to browse and buy, appreciating the newfound honesty in his business. As Arlen continued to welcome customers warmly, he began to experience a different kind of joy. He found happiness in hearing their stories, learning about their needs, and helping them find what they wanted. His shop became more than a place of business; it turned into a place of community, where people felt welcome and respected. Over time, Arlen's reputation changed. He was no longer seen as a greedy merchant but as someone who cared about his customers and treated them fairly. The townsfolk admired his transformation, and he realized that true success wasn't about making the most money but about building trust and goodwill. Thanks for watching Story Kindle. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more stories.